Okay, now let's talk about how we can 3D print the fingers and the entire hand. So once you go to your files, you'll see that there's fingers, palm, wrist. Let's start with the fingers. Copy everything, paste it onto the board. You need 4 knuckles and 4 knuckle covers. I've arranged them like this so you can see better. Each part of the finger consists of 5 different parts. The distal, the medial or intermediate, the proximal, a knuckle, and a knuckle cover. The thumb consists of the 3 we mentioned earlier, and a yaw and a pitch. Or this would be the pitch and this would be the yaw actually. So for the tip of the fingers, which are the distal phalanges, I like to print them like this. This way gives you the strongest print because the layer lines are not in line with the ball bearings, meaning that the shear forces caused on the ball, like shear forces applied to the ball bearings, would not damage um, the distal phalanges. If you print them, for example, like this, it would technically look better because the layer lines would not be showing as dramatically, but this is in line with the ball bearing and it could very easily rip off if you're not using high enough infill and high enough line, line, wall, line count, or whatever it's called. So I like to lay them like this. And I find that they don't look too terrible either. For the medial phalanges, I like to lay them on the side. This is the best way to print them. Least amount of supports, it looks beautiful. For the proximal, the best way I found is to print them completely upright like this. You should definitely print it like this because printing on any other side is not flat. You can see it's all curved. So doing it on any other side is going to give very dramatic layer lines and it's not going to look good at all. So this side is plenty strong and least amount of supports and it's pretty good. For the knuckles for prototype 3, I've made it so that one side, which is the side you will be seeing, is completely flat. So this will be the top layer. It's completely flat and it will just look better because it won't have holes poking out of this part like this and this. This doesn't go all the way through, so you don't have to worry about it looking as ugly. For the knuckle covers, just print them in this orientation with tree supports, obviously. So for this part right here, for the pitch or the yaw or whatever, I keep getting them mixed up. But I have made it so that there's one side that's completely flat, which is this side, and you're able to lay it completely flat against the bed. For this, just print this on the round side like this, with this part sticking up. And that's about it for the fingers. Now let's talk about some of the settings. So for this quality, I always use standard. Also keep in mind this is 0.4 nozzle, which is going to be the most common, which is what's probably going to come on your 3D printer. So yeah, I'm using standard quality and layer height. You can obviously go lower if you want, but I found standard quality is good enough. Wall line count, I would go definitely no less than 3. I would say 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there should be good, but no less than 3 because we're going to put heated inserts into the proximal. So if we're going to put heated inserts into the proximal and the distal actually, so we need them to be pretty strong. And keep in mind with prints this small, with parts this small, the layer, the wall thickness, or I mean the wall line count is what's going to be the structural integrity. Like it's what's going to be the most structural part of the like build, I guess, not the infill. So infill you can just put on 20, 30. It does not really matter that much. 20, 30, 40, just whatever you want. Go no less than 20 though, obviously. What other settings? I also use gyroid because that's the strongest on all sides. Let's see here for okay, I'm using generic PLA, so I'm using 250 for bed. Oh, okay, this I usually just keep it on default, interwall speed, default. Initial layer speed, I'm using glass print bed, so I usually keep this on 5, or else it might not stick to the bed. So for supports, this is very important. It must be touching build, but it can't be everywhere. For example, it can't be everywhere because also I use tree supports, I think I already said that, but let's slice this. I'll show you why. Each of the distal phalanges, they have a cavity in the middle in which a fishing wire needs to run through. And if you have them, okay, bed plate adhesion, I just do none. Slice. Okay, there we go. Each of the tips of the fingers, the distal phalanges, they have a cavity that fishing line needs to run through. If you have supports inside, it's going to be a nightmare to clean out, such as this part right here. The medial, they also have a lot of cavities on the inside. And for these newer models, for the Prototype 3, I've added fillets to each of the insides of the fingers, most of the parts, so that they can print very well without supports on the inside of them. So let's see here. This is what I'm saying. There's some dramatic layer lining happening here, but it's definitely stronger. So I would still suggest this. Okay, right around here, we can see that there is a very big cavity, but you can see that I have it gradually closes right here, gradually closes, so it doesn't need supports at all. This inner side, if this is filled with supports, you're not gonna be able to get it out. It's gonna take a long time. The first prototype I did took me like an hour to get those out of each of the fingers. It takes forever. And there's also parts in here that you don't want supports running through. And yeah, so oh, also one or two other things I want to mention is Z-Hop and retracted. You should definitely turn this on so the printer doesn't hit a printed part and break it. So do 0.5. That's what I usually do. That should be good enough for standard quality. You want to do 0.5. That should be good enough. You can also go to Z-Seam and put on sharpest corner 100%. Sharpest corner is always the best for prints like these. Okay, now let's talk about what should we do next? Let's talk about also this one right here. This is prototype 4 with this ink. I mean the servos. I've upgraded the servos. They're over 5 times stronger than the servos on prototype 3, which is a dramatic upgrade. Now let's go on to the palm and talk about the palm. Palm consists of 4 bulk and 4 split. This is the pinky, this is the ring, this is the middle, and this is the index. And this is what they look like. And this orientation I found to be the best. Actually, it doesn't really matter that much. You can print it with this side facing the thing, with this side facing the build plate. But this orientation I found to be the best. Print settings should be very similar. Standard quality. Layer wall line count should be at least, very least 3 here. I would suggest 5 to be safe. For each of the splits, I suggest printing them like this because of this part right here. You definitely do not want to lay them on this side. If you lay them on this side, because this is the side that's going to be showing. That's why I lay them like this. This is the strongest, and it'll look the best. And this part right here, this needs to be very accurate for it to be able to fit into each of these. And this is definitely the best orientation for this. Also use tree supports and gyrate and fill. Z-hop and retract it, turn that on, put it on 0.5. Sharpest corner 2, and then support skirt, just turn that off. Or I mean, build plate adhesion, you can turn that off, you don't really need it. Or you can turn it on if you want to, but I never use it. It doesn't really matter. I just manually adjust it because I'm using an Ender 3, but if you're using like a bamboo or auto adjuster, it should be fine. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. Sometimes parts like this will not be able to stick to the bed. If that does happen, then you can just turn on the layer adhesion, build plate adhesion, I mean, and turn it on brim and put it on like 5 or 4 or whatever. You don't need it on 20. That's too excessive in my opinion. Okay, now let's talk about the wrist. Also, everything I'm talking about comes from here. And the wrist, anything with a 2x or a 3x or whatever amount x next to it, that's how many you need of each. So I've upgraded the what is this? What did I name this? The wrist tenon cover. Wrist tenon cover now has a little part right here with a little hole through it, and when you're building, that's going to come in very handy. And one other major upgrade is the carpal tunnel is now split into 2 parts. So you want to print the carpal tunnel where it's able to lay completely flat like this. And I also made the tendon cover able to lay completely flat, whereas prototype 1 and 2 has a little thing here that prevents it from being able to lay flat. This part right here, lay it flat. This part right here, lay it flat. These two parts, they are able to split open, but they also have a cavity under, so you want to lay them like this. So for the wrist, this is what it would look like. This is the orientation. For the quality, I would definitely do 0.2, just because there's some pretty tight tolerances. Here, here, here. Here, 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 and underneath. Also, you can do tree supports or normal supports for this. It doesn't really matter for this one. Okay, so for walls, I would definitely go no less than 5 on this one. I don't know, go even up to like 7. Like 5, I think 5 is sufficient enough for this, to be honest. 5 walls, because the wrist is gonna have supports the hand, and it's gonna be like, it's gonna connect the forearm and the hand. It's gonna have a lot of movement, a lot of stress. So we definitely want this part to be strong. Okay, now let's go on and talk about the forearm. My build plate is quite small. Sometimes if it doesn't fit, what you can do is orient it, let's see here, orient it like this, 45 degrees. By Pythagorean theorem, the hypotenuse is longer, whatever, right? So if you orient it something like this, you could potentially have more room to do this where you can stand upright, but I would not suggest that because, yeah, for something like this, you don't want to stand it up. I mean, if you have to because your build plate is too small, you can, but it's going to take longer, more support, blah, blah, blah. So this is a complete redesign from Prototype 1. Gotten rid of batteries, gotten rid of the elbow servo, and this will fit a 60 by 40 PCB, prototype PCB with the Arduino Nano on top. This is the one I suggest using a 0.6 millimeter nozzle. If you don't have it, just use the same settings as before, but I would suggest using this. And quality, I would use draft quality for 100%. Because it's a lot faster, it just cuts the time down by like half. And you would just orient it like this, where this tip right here, you just try to look, if it's around the middle, that's good. This little tip right here should be touching the build plate. And then the settings, I mean, what you can do here to speed up the time if you don't want to wait too long. So you can do, okay, bed plate adhesion, you should definitely put on brim. Definitely put like 3 to 4 or 5 or whatever you want to. You need to stick a little bit because it's such a big piece, printing for such a long time. So Z hop, this definitely is needed. I would do 0.6 to 0.7 or above here for the draft quality. You can Z hop over only print parts to speed up the print time. Let's see what else. Support speed, you can put this on like 60 or 70. 70 is fine. And then you can do infill speed, 60, that's good. Print speed, you can put it to 60, that's fine. Okay, this is for Ender 3. But what you can do is just increase it inner wall speed. I've increased it to 60, and that should be it. There's some little tenon spools, tenon gears, tenon pulley parts. Just use your brain. Lay them on the side it's flat. The teeth where it goes into the servo, lay that facing up. You don't want to you don't want to lay that facing towards the bed because if your first layer isn't perfect, unless you're using some type of really high-end printer, it's probably not going to be perfect. Especially on an Ender 3 where you manually adjust. Some filament is going to get extruded out, and then you won't be able to fit the um you won't be able to fit the gear over the servo, the middle part of the servo. So let's slice this and see how long it'll take. I'm guessing it's going to take like 20 hours or something on Ender 3. 13, oh wow, okay. Yeah, so some of the settings I changed actually made this print pretty fast. Oh, also one thing. This is actually wrong. We need it everywhere on this one. Now this is probably going to take like 16 hours or so, I think. Let's see. So for this one, we need the supports everywhere because there's some parts on the inside and you also need supports that from the build plate won't reach 14 hours. That's not bad at all. That's actually a pretty fast print. Yeah, even if you want the quality a little bit better, you can put it on low quality because this basically just prints overnight. It doesn't even take that long. So yeah, that concludes this part of the build. And I will start doing the actual build pretty soon.